Hey everybody, it's Dawn Parks. I am so excited to be here. Whoosh! It is Tuesday morning, and I am here today to give you kind of a quick and dirty overview of how you do mind mapping. We're going to be doing some more mind mapping in programs that we're sponsoring through Elevate and through LinkedIn. But today, as part of the Great Resignation, we thought it would be good to start to think about a mapping tool, especially when you're thinking about joining the Great Resignation and you're not quite sure what to do and where to start. I'm Dawn Parks, and I'm the CEO of Shimula. And Shimula is focused on supporting women in reinventing their relationship to money, and especially as it relates to reinventing their relationship to a career. Whether you are in the workforce and you want to stay in the workforce, but you're not quite sure where you're headed, and you want to create a new dream or a new focus, or perhaps you're thinking about retiring, which is a perfect example of someone who wants to join the Great Resignation. You want to make sure you've got a plan. What are you going to do when you retire? You have to really start to think about some of these things in advance. If you are looking at becoming a new stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, stay-at-home parent, or let's say you want to go look for a new job that's going to give you a new kind of hybridized lifestyle, or perhaps it's a new job, or perhaps you want to start your own company. It is so important to really think it through, and not just think through the work that you would do in this new job, right? You need to create a dream of what work you want to be doing day in and day out in this new venture. But you also have to start to think about, what skills do I have when I make the jump, and how do I get the skills that are missing? So if you're going to become an entrepreneur, you're going to start your own coaching business or consulting business, or you're going to sell lawn or landscaping services, whatever it might be, there are things you know how to do, and there are things that you have absolutely no idea how to do. But you don't want to let that stop you. It's important to think about what you know how to do and what you don't know how to do. And that's part of the work that we do at Shimula, is we help you think through, what is the long-term goal and the short-term goal? You want to create an activity plan of things that you know how to do. And then you want to create the plan of all the things you don't know how to do and how you're going to get those done. And then you want to start to think about, like, how much money do I need? How much time do I have before I run out of the cash that I've saved? And if you're thinking about pulling from a savings or investment account, you also want to consider, how will I pay that back? We're not ever going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. We just want to make sure that you have the facts before you make the big jump. We are here for you. We're like, go you, go you. Liz and I did it before it was called the Great Resignation. And we have learned a lot. And we've been bringing different speakers on board in each of these programs who bring some experience and some skills, things you might want to think about. Tomorrow, we're going to be having Jim Crump on. Jim he's actually a health insurance provider. And he actually lives in Florida. And I know him well from work that we've done together in the past with insurance. And in all transparency, he is also my insurance agent, but he's going to be talking to us about health insurance tomorrow, and that you don't need to let health insurance stop you. I went out and tried to find health insurance on my own, and then I called Jim, and then Jim says, well, I can get you that health insurance at this price, and it's so much lower with so much better deductibles. So anyway, tomorrow, join us for the health insurance conversation. But today, we're going to be talking about mind mapping. And I just want to make sure that we're live on Facebook. And since I'm the only one here, I have to do all the checking myself, so hold tight. Works. I am so excited to be. Okay, apparently it is working. Great. Thank you for that brief interruption there. So today we're going to talk about mind mapping. And mind mapping is really this great opportunity to bring the left brain and the right brain together when you are thinking about the future. So some people think very linearly. When they're creating a vision, they use bullet points. They can write down bullet points. They can write in paragraph form. They can see the calendar. The left-brained people, they are very good at that part of mapping. But quite often what happens is they don't have allow a lot of the creative conversation to come forward. It's very structured and limited by what you can write in a bullet point or what you can write in a square. It doesn't always allow for the full freedom and the full flow of ideas where you actually start to feel and get excited about the future that you're creating. So mind mapping is really great for people who are left-brained, who are going through and creating a future based on a whole set of activities, but they're missing the heart. Because when things get tough and you can't see the next bullet point, you need to call upon your heart, your excitement, your commitment to a future that's unseen to bring you forward. Then there are people like me who are mostly right-brained. And as a right-brained person, I think very creatively, but I can't always figure out how to get things into the left-sided, bullet-pointed calendar kind of planning. I'll tell you a little story here. Probably about, well, way back when I was working in retail, I was masterful on my selling floor. I had a $6 million business that I managed. It was, if you walked out onto my selling floor, you knew where all the clothes were, all the prices were right. My salespeople, they were masterful, excellent at selling to people. My stock people always knew how to keep the floor in great shape. So the sales floor always was spectacular. But if you walked into my office, you would see piles of paper. I mean, mountains of paper. And my boss really didn't like that very much. And she would always be criticizing me about my office, even though my sales were through the roof. She had this thing about my office needed to be organized. And I would come in nights and weekends and try to figure out how to get things organized. And I figured things out over time. But I was thinking about getting organized day and night, which actually distracted me from selling. Then as I shifted gears and I moved into the whole forestry realm and I moved into science and sustainability, I got pretty good at being organized. And we had been at an event where I knew all of the team, it was a team building event, and we all had to line up next to each other. And we had to, from right brain on one end and very left brain on the other. And you stood next to the person based on how you thought you were compared to them. So if John was next to me and John was a little bit more left-brained, I would put John on the left side of me, so I was on the right. And then other people could move you based on if they thought you were left-brained or if they thought that you were right-brained. So I started out at the far end of the left, way over here on the left brain side, because I spend all of my time getting organized. And then by the time we were finished, I was at the very end on the right end side. I was the most right-brained person in the room. And I was like, what? What do you mean? How could I possibly be the most right-brained person in the world? I spend all of my time getting organized and writing calendars and writing schedules. And the instructor looked at me and she said, Dawn, the reason why you spend all of your time doing that is because you are right-brained. Left-brained people just naturally are organized. And they actually don't understand how right-brained people can walk around in such a disorganized way. So what I found out is that I am a right-brained person that has been finding a path forward in a very left-brain world. And so you might be one of those people that's very right-brained and you spend a lot of time trying to get organized because the world is organized for left-brained people. I mean, unless you're an artist, even a musician is is a combination of left and right brain, right? Because there's structure to the music, unless you're doing improv, right? So mind mapping is a great tool to help people who are very right-brained get their thoughts organized in a way that lets them move their ideas into a left-brained world. And it's a fabulous tool for people who are left-brained who want to add creativity, color, emotion into their future so they can take all of those bullets and kind of convert them into a bigger, more colorful piece of the world. So let me go ahead and jump right in. Now, to make this easy, I'm going to use the holidays as an example. But before so I'm going to use the holidays as an example. So as I mentioned before, left brain and right brain. So the left brain, as you can see here, is very analytical, very reasoning, very strategic, science, controlling. The right side is poetry, passion, creativity, art, etc. Right? We're going to find mind mapping is a tool that brings the two together. So I was thinking about the holidays, and you can be really specific or you can be really broad when you think about a mind map. And a mind map really is you take a goal and you put it in a circle in the center of a piece of paper. So to make this one easy, I created this one for the holidays. And, Christmas Day for me, or whatever, there's a holiday for you that might be kind of stressful. And for me, Christmas Day can be stressful. And I'm always dreaming about having like a Norman Rockwell kind of Christmas Day. And in order to have one, I started to think about, what do I need to have that happen? So if you look in the upper right-hand corner, it says, I need to plan the meals out, right? In order to have Christmas Day be stress-free. And this could be for the day before and the day after, right? I need to know when this is all just random thoughts that I was writing. I needed to know, when are people going to be arriving? When are people planning on departing? I need to figure out, who's coming, who's not, who's staying, what kind of sheets do I need to have? What kind of food? Who's got breakfast? Who's doing lunch? What kind of alcohol do I need in the house? Who does the Diet Coke? Who does bottled water? You got to start thinking about it based on when people, you can hear my voice. I'm already getting kind of excited and thinking about how stressful it can be, right? Now, for me, I had to think about I'm starting to think about the meals, and then I'm starting to think about arrivals and departures of people. And then I really want to stay in budget, because I know that if I go way outside of my budget, in the moment, it's going to feel good, but later it's going to be a real problem. And I don't want that. It's important for us to plan different events. If it's going to be a rainy day or a snowy day, are we going to go for a walk? Are we just planning to all sit around and watch TV, watch football games? What's the plan for the day? Otherwise, people get cranky because it's like any other day. So start to think about different events and start to communicate in advance. One of the things I'm always terrible at is wrapping the presents. It seems like I'm always wrapping like the night before, or even sometimes in the morning. Oh, I got to stop that. So it's way less stressful if the presents are wrapped and under the tree in advance, or at least the presents are ready to go if there's a dog in the house, right? And I need to make sure I schedule my own downtime. I need to make sure I'm taking care of myself. And then there's grocery shopping involved as well. So these are some of the things that I think about when it comes to the holidays and what am I going to do to reduce stress. So let me show you how I do this. Now, the way I'm going to show you is it's a little video that I do in my mind mapping courses. And so I have this dream. I have this dream of working with Tony Robbins. I really want to be on his stage, where he calls Dawn Parks and Shimula up and says, hey, we just want everybody to know about Shimula and all the great work they're doing with women to reinvent money. So I had created a mind map around it. So what I did was I created some goals. These are different kinds of goals. You could just have the goal for Christmas. And then I have a whole bunch of different colored pens and pencils, because the right brain person really likes to have colored pens and pencils. And I highly encourage you to do that as well. So I'm going to turn on this video and you can see how I put it together. So here I'm getting all the pens ready, and I put my goal in the center, which is in 2025, I'm a guest regularly on the Tony Robbins shows. And I had created here, like, how much money did I need to be making so that he would look at me? These are the financial advisors and other folks are part of the groups that I would have involved. How many followers do I want on Facebook? How many followers do I want on Instagram, et cetera? But you can see how, I'm going to run you through it one more time so you can see how I just started brainstorming. There wasn't any solid thinking. I just went wherever my brain went. This is like, you want to let loose, let it out, let the world, let all of your thoughts loose in this particular experience. And you'll see it with all of these. I started to create some other activities, right? Some other activities are created here. So if I wanted 15,000 Facebook followers, so I want to be known on Facebook, and then I want 15,000 followers. Now I can go create another mind map on how to create 15,000 followers, which then can become a strategy or a plan that I can put into a calendar. If I want to have 942,000 people following me on Instagram, that looks like a made up number, but it's the average of the number of followers a lot of the people Tony Robbins has come on his programs. So if I'm going to do 5,000 posts and have 942,000 followers, how do I get 942,000 followers? That's going to take a lot of creativity, right? It's going to take a lot of, how many pictures do I need? How many posts do I need? How many stories do I need? What are the conversations that I want to have? And I can do a whole set of mind maps on that where I can kind of let loose. It's like brainstorming without any concern for what people are thinking. And then eventually I can work it down to where I can put that into like an Excel spreadsheet as a schedule, so that on Monday, I'm going to do this post with this picture on this topic. And I'm going to tag these people. And then I'm going to do, I could have a whole list of Instagram posts. I could have a list of Facebook posts. Now, some of these numbers are really huge, right? And this is not to say that you need to be working on something that's so big, but you've got your own numbers. You've got your own things that you really want to create. And when you put it in your head, you get lost and you're not sure how you're going to convert it from 15,000, or maybe it's 10 new clients. Maybe it's, how do I get a Facebook page up, and how do I get a logo made, and how do I create an email list? You have all of those things going on in your head regarding your new business. And when you can put each of those items into the center, like where this says in 2025, and notice this said 2025, this is still a couple of years out. This is not something I'm trying to get done in the next 30 days. But each one of these can become a 30-day goal. So what you want to do is you want to be able to take your ideas and break them down. And if bullet points don't work for you, they're terrible for me. I can't get to a bullet point until I know a specific activity that's going to occur at a certain time, certain day, even sometimes a certain hour, right? And mind mapping has become this tool that lets me think through that entire process. So I would encourage you to keep thinking about mind mapping as a tool that you can use to move yourself forward, right? So here's how you would do it. You want to get yourself a piece of paper. Now you could have a piece of paper, like when I did that one, I have a little notebook. It's not even an 8.5 by 11 notebook. What size is this one? Doesn't say. It doesn't say. Oh, 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. So I have a sketch pads. I have a lot of these little sketch pads that I keep. Oh, let me see if I can make this work. No, that's not gonna work. There you go, sketch pads. I have a lot of these little sketch pads where I draw a lot of my ideas in. This is still not gonna work apparently. Okay, this is what happens when you do things live, right? I do a lot of my stuff without, I hate using paper that has lines on it. I don't know about you, but it just makes me crazy. So anyway, I have notebooks like this, and I have really big notebooks. Let me show you some. And I have other really big notebooks, and this is just filled with scribbles and doodles and the way I get things done. It's the way I have to think about things before I can put them into some order into a calendar. Nearby, I have my crayons. Okay, I always have my crayons, and I have a lot of different, this thing is filled with different colored pens and pencils because that's the way I think. And there was a point in time when people said, don't do that. It's unprofessional. You should always use black and you should always use blue. Forget it. If you're a creative person, you have to do it in your own way. If you're somebody who squiggles or doodles in the margins of the paper, you're right-brained, and mind mapping is really going to help. So what I'm going to suggest is that you get a piece of, the reason I went through all of that is I suggest that you get yourself a notebook. You can get yourself a piece of computer paper that you haven't printed anything on yet or use the backside of it. You can use colored pens, colored pencils, crayons, whatever works for you that allows your hand to slide freely on a piece of paper. And if you're going to do it for the holidays, you want to think about a goal for the holidays and put that in the very center and identify. I made a list here for you left brain people, but you just want to allow yourself a few minutes to let it flow freely. I want you to imagine that day. Close your eyes. I'm closing my eyes in case you can't see it. Close your eyes and imagine that day, whether it's, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, whatever that day is that gives you stress. And I want you to think about all the things that make it stressful. And is it the money? Is it the food? Is it the menu? Is it the clothing that people are supposed to be wearing? Is it because you're going to be visiting someone else's house and you don't have any say over how loud the television is, and you don't have any say over how hot it might be in the house? Whatever it is that stresses you out, write all those things down. And then write those coming off of the circle. So if there's something that's a problem, credit card debt, too hot at grandma's, right? We're too dressed up. Uncle Steve always drinks too much. Write those things out on the outer circles. And then underneath them, start to write down ways that you can resolve it. What are you going to do if Uncle Steve drinks too much, right? Or it's too hot? Well, you're going to make sure you're layering properly. I know you may want to look a certain way at grandma's house, but you may have to find yourself some clothing so that the heat doesn't get to you. And you know what? You can't do a darn thing about Uncle Steve. So all you can do is figure out how you're going to react. Are you going to laugh or are you going to walk away? But make sure you have a plan. So what you want to do is start to create all of those things and put it into your map. All right. Put it into your map and then start to brainstorm ways of addressing it. Because usually we just don't spend the time figuring out how we're going to address it. We think, I'll get to that later. So make sure you take that time. Make sure you take that time to think through it. Let me see if I can get it there. So think through it. What's the food situation? What's the sleeping situation? The clothing situation? The budget situation? Whatever it might be for you. Put those things down. And then just start to make a plan. But make a plan for how your brain is organized. And then where appropriate, communicate your plan, because communicating is always the most critical piece. If it's in your head and nowhere else, no one knows how to help you follow it. And I think the other thing that's really important, I'm going to stop sharing here for a moment. The other thing that is really important is that when you've been thinking about something for a long time, in your head, you have worked through all of the issues, all of the concerns, and all of the worries. And quite often then what we do is we show someone our plan, right? We say, you might say, hang on, I'm pulling my plan back out. You might say, here's what I want to do for the holidays. And these are all the things that we're going to do. And then they're going to say, what? Because they didn't go through the mental exercises that you went through. So you might have other people create their own map. Or you might have other people, you might share the map and how you got through the thinking of that part so that they can share in it and add suggestions or create their own version of it. Because when we think about it heavily, we don't want to spit out all the junk that went on in our head, which is really a common thing for people who are right-brained, especially when a lot of our family and friends are left-brained and they're ready for like the bullet points and they don't understand how you got from, I want it to be, I want a stress-free event, right? But what does that have to do with you scheduling downtime, right? Or what does that have to do with grocery shopping? They may not understand your rationale and logic. At least that's what I run into a lot in my world. Anyway, make sure you share fully. and get people on board with your ideas where it's appropriate, right? I don't know that you want to tell Uncle Steve that you got to worry about him drinking, but there may be somebody else who can be your partner when they notice you're kind of going, when Uncle Steve has been drinking, because you never shared with anybody your worries and concerns about it. So the other piece that I just want to share with you as we're starting to wrap up is that as we approach the holiday season, and if you're really considering making this big jump as part of the Great Resignation, we've been talking to you about how important it is to do some planning. Well, Liz and I have a couple of programs that we want to share with you. We have a program that's called the Money Master Plan Mastermind, and it's a small group of people that work in a community. It's an optional community, but it's where you can come once a week and talk with people about your dreams, your goals, the plans, the skills that you have, brainstorm where you're going to find funding, brainstorm how do you create the calendar, brainstorm how are people finding social media specialists and logo creators, and how do you create the email list? How do you make sure your product is ready for prime time and that there's actually a group of clients that are ready for what you want? And that's the Money Master Plan Mastermind. And that also has an online series of videos and workbooks that you do on your own. So if you buy that program, you get the videos and the workbooks for 6 months so that you can do it at your own pace. And once you register, you have 6 months from that point in time. And then you can join the community once you get into your workbook. So if you don't start the workbook until the middle of December, you can join the community in the middle of December. And then you have 4 months in the community. I know it sounds like a lot of weird numbers. Anyway, you get 6 months to do the whole program online and 4 months in the community to share with other people what you're working on. And you can also provide your guidance and insight into the people that are in the community. And we keep it at a size so that it's intimate, it's safe, and it's inviting, and it's actually quite funny a lot. So we love doing that particular program. The other thing we are offering, and that program is normally $1,997. And if you register before the end of November, you'll get 25% off. It takes it to about $1,500. And if you bring a friend, you'll get 50% off and your friend gets 25% off. So you would be getting the program for about $999 and your friend would get it for $1,500. And we have a money back guarantee on all of our products. And then the other program that we are so excited to share about is we have a program called Crack the Code for Your Wealth. And it's a do-it-yourself online program of videos and workbooks. And that program is $499. And you also have that for 6 months. But we're offering it free of charge to veterans through the end of November. So as long as a veteran registers, whether you're active, whether you're retired, whatever your status is from the military, you can have that program for free as long as you register by the end of November. So go to shimula.com to see the courses. And you can also, I'll put it in the chat in Facebook so that you can have a way to contact us directly so that you can get access to the codes. But we appreciate you, we honor you, and we are thrilled to be able to provide this free information through the Great Resignation and to be able to provide some Black Friday pricing on some of our most favorite and popular programs. So we hope to see you tomorrow. We have Jim Crump is here tomorrow to talk about health insurance. On Friday, Andrea Bednar is back to talk about the importance of practices, small practices, how the small practices and habits are the things that are going to make the biggest difference for you. And then on Thursday, we're going to be taking your questions and we might have a special guest. So once again, thank you for joining us. And we really, really appreciate having you here. Thank you.